Whiskey 9, 7 November, interrogative Alpha Bravo. Negative Alpha Bravo. And this is 7 November Golf. Roger, request you check your Romeo side. I'll go ahead and check my Tango side. 7 November Golf out. 7 November 8 and 8 5, 7 November, say again. 7 November, go. Roger, I copied a while ago, 1 Charlie transmission that my thing used, and 8 5, this is 7 November, Roger, Charlie. 8 5, Roger. Now 1 Charlie, 7 November, go.
This is 1 Charlie, reference to your last, you're granted 158 extra 5 stars, 1200 between teams and local. Also request your unit take job records to see if we can try to get 59 and 8 for pause at the playground.
And this is 7 November, Roger, stand by.
Got that.
Got it? Alright. And all units, this is 7 November Golf. My unit Alpha, Echo, X-ray Alpha Alpha in there.
One Charlie, Alpha Bravo.
Yeah, I never took a dip.
Whiskey 9, 7 November, interrogative Alpha Bravo. Whiskey 9, Yankee, 7 November Golf, over. This is Whiskey 9, go. Whiskey 9, 7 November, interrogative Alpha Bravo. Whiskey 9, Yankee, 7 November Golf, over. This is Whiskey 9, go. Whiskey 9, 7 November, interrogative Alpha Bravo. Negative Alpha Bravo. And this is 7 November Golf. Roger, request you check your Romeo side. I'll go ahead and check my Tango side. 7 November Golf out. 7 November 8 5, and 8 5, 7 November, say again. 7 November, go.
All right. It's been a long time since we've seen a stream on the channel, but we are in here. Can I get people in the chat to say something just to make sure my audio works? Because you never know, you know? You never know. Let's see. It's about a 10-second delay, so I'll kind of just let that one sit. All right. Awesome. Everything's working. Okay. Cool beans. Let's go back up to the top. It's been a long time. All right. Mick Williams. Mick, how's it going? Just spoke with you the other day. In order to get rated for scar pain, can it be intermittent pain or does it have to be consistent? I have a CMP exam tomorrow for scar pain and just curious if there is a specific criteria. There is. It depends where the scar is at. If it's on like your face, that's rated a little differently. If it's a burn scar, that's rated a little differently. I'm going to assume it's like a surgical scar. So I have a huge scar on my wrist here. So size comes into play, and there is a specific measurement. But pain also comes into play. So whether you're talking about consistent or whenever you touch it, there's pain. I would just, to be honest with you, Mick, just be honest with the CMP examiner. If the pain is sometimes there, sometimes not there, just describe it as such, okay? If the pain is consistent or to the touch, right? Absolutely. I would 100% describe that. For me, my pain is actually in my palm here whenever I touch it. And that's kind of what I would say to the CMP examiner. All right, Victoria Fatima. I dated a chick in high school named Fatima, and she was crazy. Okay. Not that. Ain't no relation to you. Okay. How many claims do you recommend filing at one time? I need to make it from 90 to 100. I'm in a constant hurt every day. Yeah, so, and you have a second one too. What is your advice for those that need to make it from 90 to 100? Will presumptives help get to 100? Or does it depend on what you qualify for? Okay, let's talk about how many claims should you file at once. And I know VA Claims Insider has a video on this, and they preach one claim at a time. I'm telling you right now, that's stupid. Okay. The answer to this question every single time is, what claims do you have ready that are evidence-based claims? Okay. As long as you have the evidence, so the in-service event and the current diagnosis, then you submit that claim. Okay. If you're going on a secondary basis, do you have the current diagnosis and then I want to say Nexus, but a private IMO or DBQ is not required, but isn't logical, right? So radiculopathy to a lumbar strain, that could be seen in an X-ray. So if you're claiming nerve damage to lower back, do you have the current diagnosis and do you have X-rays showing the pinched nerve? And so as long as you have the evidence for those claims, I don't care if it's 1 or 60, okay? Whatever you have evidence-based claims for, that's what you submit. Now, going from a 90 to 100, this one's going to be a really big answer. I have a template I use. I will actually share that video. I'll put it down at the bottom. And basically, there's a 4-step process that I do, okay? And it's basically the process that anyone, to include a claims coach from whatever company you choose, is going to follow. Okay, here it is. Let me share this link down in the chat for you. You're going to want to take a peek at this. Okay. So it's a 4-step process, right? I like to look at what you're connected for and look at increases. Is there anything, you can call this low-hanging fruit if you want to. Is there anything that could be increased, right? Do you have mental health at 30 and you are experiencing 50% symptoms? That's something we would tackle. The second thing on that list is looking at secondaries. Those are a little bit difficult regardless of what YouTube says, okay? Do you have a current diagnosis of a secondary? And then second from that, do you have evidence suggesting the secondary connection? Okay. Everyone says migraines and anxiety off of tinnitus. I got it. But it's not a 1-for-1, right? The question is, does your tinnitus cause your migraines? It's not the same for everyone. The third step is going to be looking at denials. So reading your decision letters, seeing what you were denied, and then why you were denied. And can you gather new and relevant evidence to combat that denial directly, right? A thought on denials is it worth it? And so if you're at 86 and you want to combat a sleep apnea secondary to PTSD claim, you go get an independent medical opinion, you get rated 50%. You're at 86, well, now you're at 91, right? So it's still 90%. It wasn't worth it. Pretty much just wasted your money on that medical opinion. So you have to think about that factor as well. And number 4 is what you're getting at with presumptives. Presumptives do help. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, okay? An overwhelming majority of rhinitis, sinusitis, asthma claims, IBS as well, are coming back at 10%, right? And so 10% does come in clutch, except when you're at like 86, because you're going to need a lot of 10% to push you there. So it just depends on where you're at, what your symptoms are, right? You could very well be in the 50% category for sinusitis. But after presumptives, we would also look at new conditions. Is there anything that you're dealing with that you have in-service events for that you just simply didn't claim, right? So those 4 steps: increases, secondaries, denials, and presumptives, and new conditions are pretty much how you get properly rated, right? I wouldn't say being pushed from 90 to 100. I would just say properly rated. All right, fly, Eagles, fly. Good. Glad to see you back. Keep up the good work. Hey, thank you. I'm glad to be back. Okay. I'm glad to be back in my home. Hospital beds kind of suck. All right. Veteran helping others. I filed for sleep apnea in November. Do you know if I will fall under the new criteria on the VA proposals coming in January? Yeah. So man, it's crazy what YouTube can do, right? So these proposals were written, I believe, in like 22, 21-ish time frame, and they've been pretty silent. To be honest with you, you have the intent to file. Don't worry about it. Yes, it'll be backdated to that date and how 38 CFR was written then. Okay, that's pretty much all there is to it. I'm probably gonna have to catch up on some content creation and just kind of, because I did watch a few of those videos. There's a lot of fluff and a lot of fanning the fire. But I'll probably make a 1-2 minute video and just be very straight to the point. That's it. Okay. I'm on round 5 with tinnitus claim. Okay, that sucks. I follow your steps to get new and relevant evidence, Nexus letter, or at least as likely as not, self-statement, still got denied. Back decision letter yesterday. Hey, I would absolutely, if you want me to take a look, I would like to see the decision letter on why you were denied specifically, okay? If you were denied 5 times for tinnitus, and tinnitus is only a 10% rating, right? Now, I get there are secondaries from tinnitus, but again, it's not a one-all be-all. I understand YouTube will tell you tinnitus can get 90%. The question is, does your tinnitus cause your migraines, right? Does your tinnitus cause your anxiety? It's certainly not the same for everyone, and you have to look at competing evidence as well. Competing evidence will make a good video idea. All right, the grain side up. I believe this is well, hold on. It's not the first dono because we had one prior to the stream. Lynn S., thank you very much for the super sticker. Y'all know all donations from live go right back to the channel. I definitely appreciate that. Thank you, Lynn. If you have a question, Lynn, throw it up in the chat. Let me know. I'll answer the super chat first, and then I'll scroll down to see if you have anything. All right, the grain side up. Thanks for all the information. I appreciate you helping vets. We appreciate it. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you. Thank you very much. I certainly appreciate it. It kind of blows my mind that, my friend put an idea in my head and we kind of just went to Best Buy and did this thing, and now we're here. So, all right. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. All right, let's get back to answering some questions. Switch OLED. Intent to file. Is intent to file enough to be considered under current rules for yes. Yes. Okay, the answer is yes. The answer is yes. I will make a video on that. So if you go to ECF, I'm clicking a lot. If you go to ECFR, you'll be able to see ecfr.gov. You can kind of go back in time when 38 CFR was updated. And that'll kind of give you a feeling for what could happen. Okay. Nathan Wilk, I was finally awarded 50% for mental health, though many 70% issues apply to me. How many 70% indicators are needed to qualify? I'm divorced, dealing with suicide trouble. Yeah. Solid question. Okay. Solid question. And this is hard. So the VA, somewhere near decision letter, it probably says something like, you've experienced most closely related to 50% criteria, although you have some of the 70% indications for mental health. It really boils down to the severity of, it's not a number thing, but there is 3 big ones that I always hit on when you're talking about 70%. Okay. One of them has 2, depending on which route you're going. The first one is suicidal ideations, right? Which you do have, check mark. That sucks, by the way. The second one is going to be frequent panic attacks or frequent depressive episodes, right? Or both. And so when I say frequent, I mean weekly. If you have weekly panic attacks or weekly depressive episodes, that's a very clear indicator that you're down. You're heading towards 70%. And then the third one is really, really big. It's your ability to maintain effective relationships, right? So if you have kids, if you struggle connecting with them emotionally, or if you have a wife and you struggle connecting with that person emotionally, and that looks different for everyone, that would be a clear indicator of 70%, right? Those 3 together, Absolutely hit it out of the park every time. There are others, right? Like on the ADHD side of the house, there's obsessive rituals a part of that. There are other symptoms, but the most common that I see are those three I explained. Tracy Barthel, your channel was greatly missed. Hey, glad to be back. Appreciate it. Can CMP examiners ever see what previous examiners wrote about your claim? Does the VA only consider the latest CMP exams when you appeal? So, second question is no. The first question is it depends. So, CMP examiners see what the VA sends them. Okay. Now, I assume it's within that same company. They're going to see it, right? So, VES, CMP exam 1, VES, CMP exam 2, probably. But the answer is the answer is the examiner sees what the VA sends them. Okay. And they're not, that examiner isn't obligated to go digging any further than that. Which kind of sucks. In this case, it would be a good thing, assuming your previous CMP exam was unfavorable or bad. Just depends. But yes, the VA will consider all exams. All relevant evidence is what the VA will consider. All right, Lynn S. Oh, here you are. Would iron deficiency anemia requiring iron infusions and vitamin B deficiency requiring vitamin B injections be permitting? I don't know enough about anemia to answer that. I want to say yes, because it sounds like they are the treatment is rooted in the same symptom. That's what it sounds like to me. I don't know enough about anemia to kind of give you a full answer on that. What I would like to do, though, is learn. So send me that question in an email after the stream. I'll go ahead and give you a solid answer. And I'll probably link you the 38 CFR code that I find as well. All right, Gene OT. We have a few from Gene. Old Gene boy. Okay. Currently rated at 10% for lumbar scar. 20% status post multi-level with DDD. Okay, so you have a back condition of lumbar and the middle spine. Now you have IVDS, new benign. You have a bunch of other diagnoses with a VA rate all under back spine. The answer is yes. Okay, all possibly radiculopathy upper limbs. Correct them from first. Peripheral neuropathy. Okay, there's a lot. Yes. Your lower back and your thoracolumbar, your lumbar and your thoracolumbar spine are going to be rated. It's certainly possible to have separate ratings. Not that common. You'll have separate ratings for cervical and lumbar. That is pretty common, but it's very common to see like a thoracolumbar / lumbar strain. Okay. Now with DDD and IVDS. If I had to take a wild guess, there's 3 ratings your back can be rated off of, which is range of motion. Everyone knows that one. Incapacitating episodes, which is like, oh, I threw my back out. I got to go lay in bed for 2 days. Or degenerative arthritis. First glance, it sounds like you're rated under incapacitating episodes. And in that instance, incapacitating episodes don't really get the radiculopathy secondaries, which is weird, I know. But if it's rated off of range of motion, you can get sciatic nerve damage claims from your lumbar strain. To answer your I think you asked a question about radiculopathy of upper limbs. Yes, your arms can be rated. You can have your arms and your legs rated for nerve damage due to spine injuries. Daniel Velez, can you explain what a suspense date is on a claim? Absolutely, I can. We have a lot of super chats. I'll definitely get to those right after this. Daniel, okay. A suspense date is let's say you're submit a claim for PTSD and they want you to fill out a 0781. I think it's 0781. Might be 0783. They'll say, hey, 30 days. You have 30 days to fill this to complete the document, whatever. That's a suspense date. So the suspense date is the VA gives you a date saying do this by this day, and on that day they're going to pull that claim and it's going to go wherever it needs to go. Suspense date, right? Okay. Bobby D's. I love this name. I'm so glad you're still watching this channel. I know you've been a long time fan of the show, so I definitely appreciate it. Hey, Clay, I just finished my last CMP exam. I'll update you again when I receive my decision. Thank you. Thank you for keeping me in the loop. I appreciate that. Brian Lovelady, thank you very much for the super chat. I filed sleep apnea secondary to knee injury with obesity as an intermediate step. Okay. Opinion stated, obesity does not cause runner's knee. CMP clearly didn't read the claim. Is this something the rater should have caught? It sounds like a higher level review. Okay. There's going to be more to that exam results than just that. So I would be interested in looking at that. But based off of this, it sounds like a higher level review should be in order. Now, what should happen is that goes to the VA, and let's just take this at face value. The rater will be like, that's wrong, and they'll send it back for another exam. Yes, if that does come back, it sounds like a higher level review based off of this one single comment. LG, thank you very much for the sticker. I appreciate that. Let me hop down in the chat and see if you've said anything. Just in case I don't want to miss what you've said. LG, here you go. Bro Clay, welcome back, and thank you for all your help. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Getting me from 90 to 100 on October 11th. Hey, congrats. There we go. Just sucked because I lost my mom on the 14th. Yeah, spoke too soon. I apologize for that. Sorry for your loss, man. That sucks. My mom's also not in good health. Now I'm bugging you for help getting my dad on DDIE. That's fine. Hey, that's good. Shoot me an email. We can certainly go down that path for your father. Okay. Thank you, LG. I definitely appreciate that. April Crum. Service connected for glaucoma at 0. Found out my private doctor's note and test results were not included, so I filed a supplemental with the records and went to a newly requested exam, and now 60%. Solid. That's a very solid rating for that condition. Back pay only went back to the supplemental date, which was what? What was the supplemental date? To supplemental date, evidence listed that they use intent to file had upcoming image. Evidence listed that they used an intent to file I had filed for upcoming MH claim. So that doesn't sound right. Okay. I will tell you this: the one thing the VA gets wrong every single time, or not every single time, a lot of the times, are effective dates. And so what I would do if I were you, April, because going from, I don't know what that 60 did to your overall rating, but I would assume it raised it a bit, especially if you're going from 90 to 100. That back pay is going to be worth it. I would recommend you do a higher level review on the effective date only. Okay. And at the end of the day, you can make that decision. Okay. If you feel shaky, there's another side of this too. I think we need to at least bring the light. If you feel shaky on that 60%, you have to make the decision of, okay, well, do I pursue this effective date or do I kind of just, eat that? Assuming it is a very solid evidence-based airtight claim, I would 100% do a higher level review on the effective date. All right. Oli H. What's up? Will requesting a higher level review for denied claim open up your other awarded claims for review? No, it will not. Okay. No, it will not. Now, there are sometimes, okay. So for instance, let's say you're doing a radiculopathy HLR, and you have your lower back rated, and you're given another CMP exam, very well could get your back re-examined, in addition to the radiculopathy claims. Okay. But the majority of the time the answer is no. But don't take that as a one-all be-all, because everyone's situation is a little different. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. How does the VA finna? I don't know how the VA finna do anything, but the VA finna come down on VA Claims Insider. I'll tell you that. All right. That's a stupid joke. Okay. Jack Garrett, my VSO filed a claim for PTSD, MDD, anxiety. If it turns out that's not PTSD, do they automatically go to the next item, which would have been MDD? It's a moot point. Okay, they would have done that anyways. It's very common when veterans claim PTSD, right? Because that's like the buzz word. That's like the buzz claim. It's very common for that to come back as like adjustment disorder with general anxiety, right? There's so many different diagnoses for mental health, but it just depends. Okay, Jack, request for military records 4.5 months ago, nothing yet. Yep, sounds about right. VSO was able to pull up my records immediately. So that's through VBMS, and if you wanted to get those, you'd have to do a FOIA request for your C file. You could go to your regional office, okay? And I've heard this go both ways, but some will give you specific files if you're looking for your SCR only, or like CMP exam results. Some regional offices you're going to have to do the formal process of a FOIA. And at that point, you're already 4.5 months in. I assume you're talking about your C file. If that's the case, it's about 6 to 9 months you'll get your C file. John Sullivan just got scheduled for CMP exam. I did a review on the doctor and saw really terrible reviews. Yep. How to prepare for an exam with a terrible doctor. Okay. I'm not a fan of CMP examiners here. Okay. I'm going to start by giving them the benefit of the doubt, and then I'll answer your question. So veterans aren't leaving reviews on good examiners. Okay. It's not a thing. However, when a examiner is bad, right? Or the veteran disagrees with the examiner's opinion, okay, although it's theoretically based on evidence, they would write a poor review, right? I say that to say, I'm saying that to let you know that just because the reviews are bad doesn't mean that this person sucks, okay? It could very well mean that they do suck too. Now, to answer your question, how do you prepare for that? I would say you don't, right? You have your evidence, and this is why we submit evidence-based claims. You have the intent to file, which is a whole year. Submit the intent to file, gather your evidence, submit an evidence-based claim. The VA can't ignore evidence, okay? They can't. It sucks because when they do, you just do a higher level review, then you're back in the process. I get it, okay? I know that sucks. I've been there myself. But assuming you submitted an evidence-based claim, you let your evidence do the talking for you, right? So if I was having a CMP exam with a bad examiner, I would say, yeah, well, in 2012, I came back from Afghanistan and I started having mental health complaints, and here were my thoughts, right? So I'm referencing my evidence as I'm speaking to the examiner. You're kind of drawing the line for the examiner. That's how I would do it personally. In order to do that, though, you would have to know your evidence, which is critical for veterans, okay? I know everyone talks about memorize DBQs and look at the 38 CFR, which is important. Don't get me wrong, okay? But I would argue the number one thing veterans need to do is just know your evidence. Hey, I did get seen for my back in 2013, after I came back from this deployment, from this field op. I know I had x-rays June of 13 while in the Marine Corps, right? And so you're referencing your evidence during that exam. That's the best tip anyone can give you for CMP exams, whether they are bad examiners or not. So just Fred, it's time. Yep. All right, Jack Garrett, again, you messaged me in Patreon the other day, back issues without continuity. Would a next letter help? This is a good point. And if you're watching this, I want everyone to listen up because this is extremely important. A Nexus letter will help, okay? But I want to be very clear. The medical opinion in the DBQ is not a check in the box, I'm going to win my claim, right? So just because you submit an IMO or DBQ doesn't really mean diddly squat other than you submitted an evidence-based claim. assuming that provider used your evidence and made a good opinion, right? I've seen some bogus opinions. So the answer is yes, that would help, Jack. My counter question would be, and I remember, if I remember off the top of my head, you did have the in-service events and you do have a current diagnosis. Yes, you're missing chronic and continuous from whenever you got out to now. That does suck. I wouldn't recommend a medical opinion up front, personally. I would just submit the claim, and if denied, look at the reason for denial. It's probably going to be continuous and chronic, and then if you wanted to go the opinion route in an appeal, then you could. Okay, I wouldn't recommend it up front unless you just you have $1,000 to spare and you don't care, which a lot of people do, and there's nothing wrong with that. All right, John Kelsey, how long should I expect my supplemental claim to last before being evaluated? I had a DBQ that literally says migraines are caused by tinnitus. Yeah. Tons of factors, John, right? First off, no one can give you a time frame on any claim, right? Second, there are so many factors that go into DBQs, right? And this one has the opinion with it. I assume that's in the remarks section. And the thing about that statement right there, and I know people are just going to go bananas over this, but tinnitus does not cause migraines, okay? It is known to strongly correlate with migraines, but just because you have tinnitus and migraines does not mean your migraines are from your tinnitus, okay? So how that sentence is worded, tinnitus doesn't generally cause migraines. And you'll see that in a lot of denial letters, decision letters that result in denials. What I would like to know, John, is what evidence outside of the DBQ that you have that show indications of your tinnitus causing your migraines, right? That would look something as simple like, hey, doc, you go to your primary care. Hey, doc, every time I get my tinnitus has been really acting up. My migraines have been getting worse. It's to the point where when I have tinnitus, I get a migraine, and then those compound off each other. That's put in a note somewhere. That would be pretty solid evidence, right? So it just depends. Roger Colquitt, okay. How to convert non-service connection to service connection. Brother, welcome to the channel, okay? Welcome to the channel. I have so many questions for this. I'll give you a general answer, but your situation is unique. Feel free to shoot me an email if you want. But how do you combat a denial is what the question is. So in your decision letter, you will see why you were denied, right? It's going to be one of these three. One, you don't have the in-service events, right? It'll say veteran does not contain complaints, blah, 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 in-service treatment records, right? Two, you're not diagnosed. No diagnosis, no claim, point blank. Three, the nexus, right? So if you have the in-service event and you have the current diagnosis, was the examiner able to say, hey, this current diagnosis is linked to service? That's a nexus. And so you're missing a combination of at least one of those, right? If you're missing one or two, then you're definitely missing the nexus. So depending on why you were denied, then you just get evidence to combat that directly. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. It just depends. Can you get a rating for arthritis plus ratings for each joint? So looking at, I never say that word correctly, so I'm just going to say P, arthritis. How psoriasis, that's what it is. How psoriasis is rated. You can look at the 38 CFR. It talks about the, how the VA rates body systems, okay? Looking at P, arthritis, it's the entire body in its own, right? And so those joints are kind of going to be roped in together, and that's where you'll see, I believe, a 40% rating for P arthritis. Don't quote me on that. Definitely feel free to fact check me there on that rating for 38 CFR. But that is the arthritis as a whole, right, in your body. Okay. Happy NES. Hi, Clay. If the decision letter states the review, migraine log, Nexus, DBQ, etc., but still rate 0 for evidence, yeah, higher level review. I'll tell you a personal story and then how many veterans I've helped this same exact scenario. Okay. So going back to why we submit evidence-based claims, it's right here. And here's what happened to me. Okay. Years ago, I submitted a personal statement with how frequent I get migraines, all the prescription, how many times I refilled my prescription for sumatriptan, okay, within that year, and then the symptoms of my migraines with and without medication. Very, very short, like 3-4 paragraph statement. With that, I shared all that with my primary care, so that was in there. To include my migraine log with my primary care, right? So that's the evidence. Submitted that claim. I had migraines coming back from Afghan. I knew it was in my service treatment records. I'm good to go, right? So I get rated 0%. What the heck? And so what I had to do was a higher level review with an informal conference. They look at the evidence. Right then and there, awarded 50% for that rating. Boom, end of day, right? The most common claim I see veterans win HLRs for, because HLRs are a very, very overwhelming majority are denied, right? Or they continue the previous decision, which was a denial. I see a ton of HLR claims for migraines that are awarded, right? And the language of migraines is a factor of that. And I would absolutely do a higher level review with an informal conference and know your evidence. That's key. Okay. Whew. Doing a lot of talking. All right. Yep. This is a sound check. Oh yeah. Okay. Let's see if we can catch up. See if we can catch up. We have any super chat? Nope. All right. We're good. We're good. Okay. Welcome back. Thank you very much. Sergeant G55. I had my CMP exam for flat feet on the 8th, and the regional office still says they haven't received the DBQ from the examiner and has submitted several requests for it. It's December. What can I do? Yeah, that's wild, especially if they haven't received that the CMP exam results. I would absolutely call the VA, and I would just ask your regional office. I'm not sure how close you are to your regional office. But I would start bugging people if you're really wanting to see that CMP exam result, right? It's not going to do anything. Personally, I don't understand why people want to see their exam results. I just don't. Because we submit evidence-based claims, right? So you should know your evidence going in. That's my 2 cents on that. But if you want to, I would definitely start bugging some people. Say, hey, where's this at? All right. Awesome. Thank you very much, everyone. Let's go down to Eric Desper. What is the finalized disability rating from the VA? If you have one claim that's 20% and one claim that's 50%, how does the VA do math for final disability ratings? Yeah, Eric, I'm just going to share my screen. I like using the Hill and Ponton calculator. There's a few different ones that you can use. Let me see if I can get this right first try. I'm not a tech dude at all, which is pretty wild, but here we go. Okay. So you said 50 and 20, right? So we got 50 and 20. It's 60% automatically. It's a hard 60, okay? So let's say you had 50 and 10, it would be 55, okay? And so how the VA rates it is, let's say you have 90%, plus 50 will be 100. 90% plus 10 would be 91. The reason being, I'm going to try to explain this as best as I possibly can. 90% to 100, there's 10 left. So 10% of 10 is 1, which is why you get 1 more percentage. Okay? And you can kind of keep doing that until you're there. So generally speaking, It just depends. Now, there are bilateral factors, right? You see how there's a bilateral factor of 3.6. That, depending on your bilateral factor, can absolutely push your rating up at least 10%. Okay. And so let's get to 90 real quick. Let's get to 90, 90, 90, 90, right? So we have a bilateral factor of 8.9. We know 50 will get us there, but nope, not 40. Okay. If you were to do a left, right leg 40, there we go, because your bilateral factor increased. So if you want to play around with that, that's fine. To be honest with you, and I'm going to be, just to be clear with everyone, it doesn't matter, right? As long as you submit evidence-based claims, as long as you're getting properly rated, I wouldn't even worry about VA math because you can't do nothing about it, right? There's nothing you can control about VA math. Just gather your evidence, submit your evidence-based claims, let the VA do VA stuff. All right, AM, good day. Good day, sir. Thank you for taking the time to answer veterans' questions. I have a virtual mental health CMP exam this week. I've submitted DBQ for PTSD. What would you recommend? Yeah. I can tell you exactly how that exam is going to go. I'm going to link a video for you at the bottom for mental health exams. Okay. Now you do have a DBQ, so I'll hit on that as well. And I'm going to assume whoever wrote your DBQ is really good at writing DBQs. Okay. That they use your evidence to construct that DBQ, which would make that one-time visit a little bit stronger. And so what I would do if I were you is understand who did your DBQ, what they put on it, and again, reference your evidence during that CMP exam, right? So the examiner says, when did you start feeling depressed, right? I know I went to behavioral health in 2013 after I got back from this deployment, right? I would say, hey, in 2013, we had came back from Afghan. I started having depressive episodes, and I went to go see behavioral health on Camp Lejeune, right? Whatever that looks like for you, that's just a hypothetical scenario I made up. But always reference your evidence during exams, okay? So instead of saying, yeah, I get depressive episodes, you would say, well, in 2013, I saw behavioral health on Lejeune while active after this deployment, and I started having depressive episodes. You're kind of linking service connection to the examiner, right? I would absolutely recommend that to anyone going into any type of CMP exam. MK Ultra Vibes, my PTSD claim was sent to records research earlier this month. After filing on September 22, how long will this take? They are trying to verify a suicide that I witnessed. Note, timeline questions are always the worst because no one can give you an answer. I understand that's a poopy answer, okay? But no one on this planet can give you an accurate answer at all. Not a single person. Daryl Riley, apply SMC A&A is ready for decision 95 days, never schedule exam. I'm going to need a little bit more than that. I'm assuming you're saying you applied for A&A and you haven't heard anything back in 95 days and you just got the prep for notification on the app. I assume that's what you're talking about. Okay. I'm not sure though. Feel free to shoot me an email if you'd like some, so I can at least answer that. I'm going to need some more information. Happy NES for 100% PTSD rating. Can you discuss examples? Will the HLR officer also need to read private IMO? Yeah. So the senior rater is going to look at all your evidence that you submitted with that claim. Okay. So 100% PTSD rating. Think 70%, but total occupational and social impairment, right? And so at 70%, I'm not I struggle with connecting emotionally with my children. At 100%, that's not even a possibility, right? You may work in a structured work environment, right? That might be telework and you don't work well with others, right? So it might be independent telework. That might be your work situation. You might not work at all. But I want you to think of 70%, but very, very severe, right? That total occupational and social impairment. Whereas someone with 70% can kind of, they may not like going to a Christmas party, but they can do it. Someone with 100% rating, they're not going to that, right? They're not going to that at all. That's my attempt to kind of normalize what that looks like. All right. Jeremy Skripek, I know I butchered that. My CMP exam for PTSD doctor is being reported by my primary psychologist doctor for asking my top 3 traumatic incidences in Iraq. Is that not my favor? Your CMP exam for PTSD is being reported. I don't know what, maybe I'm reading this wrong. I don't know what you're talking about. To answer your question, though, I don't see anything that is or is not in your favor, right? So it seems like you have stressors that are directly linked to your deployment in Iraq, which is for VA benefits purposes. That's a good thing. You have the in-service event. I'm going to assume you have a current diagnosis. I think the connection there is pretty simple based off of this one comment and not looking at your evidence. It seems pretty simple to me. I wouldn't say that is in your favor or not in your favor, but based off of this comment, you have a very good claim. Can you claim gastritis and GERD? So that's going to be in the same tract, right? So your GI is all the same rating. So IBS, GERD, there's a few others. All those will share the same rating. I will tell you that 30% for GI is pretty solid, right? You'll see a few IBS and GERD claims at 30%. It's pretty rare. I only know one person that has a 60% rating for GERD. I know YouTube says everyone can get 60% for GERD. That's not true at all. YouTube is kind of stupid. 30% is a very solid rating for that. So I don't know where you're at, Bobby D's, but if you're at 30%, I'd probably just table that one. If you're at 10, okay, you might want to look at, my wife is texting me. Ugh, okay. She wants me to go trivia tomorrow. All right. Anthony Rivers. Happy to see you back, bro. What's up? If I have an intent to file, but they change the tinnitus rating in 2024, you're good. You're good. Don't worry about it. Do not worry about that. If I file for PTSD, will they take away my concealed weapon? No, they won't. I have a concealed, okay? Concealed. If you have a TS-SCI clearance, you're good. This is fake news, 100%, okay? Now, technically speaking, if you are on, let's just call it a list, right? Yes, there are red flag laws for that. But just because you're rated for 100%, just because you're rated for PTSD has nothing to do with your ability to conceal or have a clearance, right? Now, some jobs, like a pilot or air traffic control, have specific requirements, but like 99% of everything else don't. You're good. John Kelsey. Is there a timeline for changes to sleep apnea claims? No, there's not. Man, YouTube really just messes everything up, don't they? No, nothing. No one can say anything right now at all. I understand it's a good clickbait video, but no one can determine, can guess, can say anything about anything at all until that proposal is no longer a proposal, okay? So I would just, for everyone listening, all that stuff you hear about, don't worry about it. Submit your evidence-based claims. Who cares what's going on? You can't change it anyways. Submit your evidence-based claims, get your intent to files in, and worry about that, okay? Worry about that. In South Carolina for graduation Wednesday, hey, Semper Fi. USMC Big B, and congrats to you. I bet you're extremely. I would be absolutely. My head would explode if my son joined the Marine Corps. Scrap guy, what's up? How's it going? Happiness. Can I represent my husband if they have to ask questions for HLR, or what exactly does that look like? Filing, failure to consider and review evidence. I think it would be weird. Okay, what I would do if you are your husband's caretaker, which that's what it sounds like. Okay, put the phone on speaker. An informal conference is a rater's going to call you on your phone. Okay, and they're going to talk to you like I'm talking to you right now. It's super informal conference. Put the phone on speaker and let them know your situation, saying, "Hey, my name is so and so. I am the veteran's spouse. I'm his caretaker for XYZ reasons." Just be upfront about it, okay? And kind of just feel what that rater wants, right? They're not going to be confrontational, okay? Regardless of everyone's views on the VA, raters are, I want to say your friend, okay? There are certainly raters that are newer, all right? But generally speaking, in a HLR, you're gonna have a solid rater in your corner. So just feel that energy that they're giving, that vibe on the phone. Let them know, be very transparent. Let them know what's going on. How do I get to P&T if I'm 100% scheduler? Yeah, Brandon. So your conditions have to be static, right? And I'd like to know. You don't have to enter it now. Send me an email because I have a ton of questions for you. But you have to be static, right? And so these static conditions have to add up to 100%. But there are tons of variables that go into various veterans that are 100% and not P&T. And so a cancer could be one of them, right? Mental health is often, especially when it's granted right after leaving service, is often not static out the gate, at least from what I've seen. And so I have tons of questions for you. So if you want to send me an email, that's TheCivDiv@gmail.com, and I'd love to answer that question for you or for your situation. For everyone else, and I should have said this, keep building evidence, right? If you're rated for your lower back, if you're rated for mental health, wherever that looks like, keep complaining, right? Show the VA cause that condition is not getting anywhere or any better. All right, MK, claiming migraine secondary to tinnitus. I have a journal since 21, prostrating, now receiving Botox because nothing else has worked. What else would I need for this claim? So you have the current diagnosis and you have the severity that I'm going to assume rates 50%, right? At least 30. You're missing I'm sorry, I was going to say in-service event, but I see it's secondary. What I would like to see, MK, this is me personally, I would like to see evidence from your primary care of you talking to them about your tinnitus and your migraines. Try and build that connection through medical evidence, okay? I'm going to assume you're not submitting a medical opinion, which I wouldn't really, I wouldn't recommend up front anyways. And I would submit that claim. Now, if that claim was denied, then I'd probably start, depending on the reason why you were denied and your evidence, you might want to start looking at a medical opinion from an audiologist. Dr. Erickson is pretty solid. I don't get anything from Dr. Erickson at all, so this is just a recommendation. If you just look up Dr. Erickson, our audiologist in Maryland, I'm sure you'll find her. She's pretty good. All right, John Kelsey, and I'll come to that super chat here in a second. Thank you for that. Thank you for the one-on-one. Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for your support. It has helped me a lot. Had to start all the way over from step 1 due to bad VSO and bad advice. Wish I would have found you before I started. Hey, I wish I knew what I knew now when I left the Marine Corps too. But bygones be bygones. You're heading the right direction now. We submit evidence-based claims. The VA can't ignore evidence, right? Okay. Let's look at John McLaughlin. I was discharged for personality disorder after a year in service. I'm currently 10% service-connected tinnitus. Do you have any advice for MH claim as secondary to tinnitus? So it sounds like that claim would actually be direct. Okay. Just based off of this single comment here. So my counter question to you would be, what's keeping you from going direct? And if you've already claimed it as direct, and you've been denied, I would like to see the decision letter before even giving any type of recommendation at all. But at first glance, I would absolutely get your in-service events. I would look at your continuous and chronic, okay? Symptoms of that. Did you seek treatment from when you got out to now? What does that look like? Is there a gap in treatment? Are you able to have people write statements to show your symptoms for that gap in treatment, right? But there's definitely more to that that I would absolutely need to see prior to giving you advice. And I'll say this for everyone: anyone that gives you advice on an appeal without looking at the decision letter is, I don't want to say stupid because that's mean, but they're just ignorant, right? They don't know what they don't know. So if anyone gives you advice without looking at a decision letter, whatever they say, just completely disregard it and put that in your pocket to never talk to them again. That's my opinion. All right, Henry Reneska. Finally, P&T. Took me 4 years. Thanks to you and some others on YouTube. Hey, congrats. Congrats. I definitely appreciate that, right? YouTube does have its moments. There are some solid videos out there outside of this channel. Obviously, Combat Craig is like the mammoth. I don't know how these dudes upload every day. I don't. Right? I'm about to have my 4th kid, and I'm in grad school. I don't understand how they upload every day, but good on them. I'm glad they helped you. Okay, absolutely. I'm glad I was a part of that as well. If I was to change anything, I would just make clickbait not a thing. I get it though. YouTube is YouTube. Okay. AM. I was about to go on a whole tangent there. I was treated for mental health, suicide when in the military. It's in my service records. Can you deny me for MH claim if I'm still suffering from MH even after 30 years? That question is yes, they can. Okay. So continuous, and so there's 3 things every claim needs. And the second one is actually 2 parts. It's the in-service event, current diagnosis, and the nexus. And a part of current diagnosis is continuous and chronic. You're talking about 30 years, which is a significant time gap. So that answer is technically yes, they can. However, you have the in-service event. I would recommend you get a current diagnosis. I know you say I'm still suffering from mental health. I would like to see an official diagnosis, right? Whether that's an ICD or an SCT code, or at a minimum, current documented symptoms of suicidal ideations prior to submitting that claim, right? But I would 100% not submit that claim without having a current diagnosis or documented symptoms. Copious Cat, OMFG, I made it. You made it. Welcome. Welcome. What's up? Next level. Next level. Long time fan, dude. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Every time you comment, appreciate it. PS just realized his migraines of 0% are static. I would predict that they could sure get worse in the future from IEDs. Yeah, happiness. I would just, based on your previous comment with the evidence you have, do the higher level review with the informal conference. Matthew Soleil, my spouse died in 15. That sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. And then was service connected to 100% P&T post-mortem all the way back to 2001. Okay, is there a second? Oh, here we go. Let me mark my spot. I started receiving dependent in compensation 16. Am I due back pay from 15 to 2001? I do not know. I don't think so. Okay, just because of the year of death. I really don't feel comfortable talking about this, to be honest with you. But I don't think so. I don't know either. right? I want to err on the no side. I would recommend you talk to a VSO, a very solid, knowledgeable VSO. You could also call your regional office, let them know what's going on. And kind of, I would actually start there. Start with your regional office, and just let them know what's going on. I want to say no. Okay. All right, Copious Cat. Hi, I'm currently being med boarded and only got proposed 80%, permanent 60. I have 12 other deferred conditions MH in that list. Those 12 were my most severe, of course. Yeah, you have 12 deferred conditions and you're going through a med board. So there's this, I'm not sure exactly, okay, but I know there's timelines on the VA rendering decisions for med boards. That's probably what prompted that many deferred claims, probably. I would like to know, and I also think you are conflating DOD rating and VA rating. I would like to know your VA disability rating as of right now. But hey, you're going through a med board. You have 12 deferred conditions that are your most severe. There's really nothing. I wouldn't sweat it at all, to be honest with you. And generally speaking, med boards, although it's a very stressful, sucky process, as far as VA claims go, going through a med board is the easiest of the options, in my opinion, right? Going through the IDES. Clay, can you provide insight on HLR informal conference wisdom? Yeah, absolutely, right? So HLR informal conference is exactly what it sounds like. Some raider will pick up their phone, dial your number from the regional office. They'll have a conversation with you, and the tone of voice will be exactly how I'm talking with you now. They're like, hey, what's up? I'm a raider with blah, 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 regional office. I'm here to do your HLR, blah, 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 blah. Can you tell me about migraines or whatever the condition is? From your perspective, what I would do is one, know your evidence because we submit evidence-based claims. I can't say that enough. Know your evidence and reference your evidence, right? So I did a higher level review for migraines going from 0 to 50. Got that call. He did his introduction. He's like, hey, talk to me about migraines. I just told him very forward. Hey, I submitted a statement. I talked to my primary care. I was prescribed this medication back in 2019. I've been taking that and re-upping my prescription about 3-4 times every year. I have a migraine log. I shared that in my symptoms with the provider. And I take 4 to 5 doses of my medication per month. Right. So I'm referencing my evidence while simultaneously talking about my symptoms. Now, the evidence, the rater can see that. Okay. And so once they see, oh, there it is right there. I don't know how it was missed. In that instance, I was awarded 0 to 50 during that call. Right. Well, it took a week to get the letter. But that same concept is what I would urge any veteran to do during a CMP exam and certainly during an HLR with an informal conference. Know your evidence. It's crucial. It's the only saving grace that veterans have. Whatever comes out of your mouth doesn't matter unless it's backed by evidence. All right, sorry about that. Got that one. Dom, I finally got my claim approved at 80. Congrats. Okay. However, I was found service-connected for migraines at 0. I had evidence but was missing migraine log. Do they carry that much weight? Do you have an example? What I just said. Okay. Exactly what I just said. Now, I understand you don't have a migraine log. That doesn't mean that you don't have the evidence. Okay. So in my case, I was refilling my prescription. Let's say my hypothetically, my prescription was 10 pills per month. Or 10 pills per bottle. If I was re-upping that prescription every 2 months, that's 5 migraines per month on average. And so that could be your migraine log as well, right? I would argue that's a better one to be very blunt about it. Personal statements and migraine logs, and I know people preach them. They're stupid. Okay, they're stupid. They need to be backed by evidence. And so refilling that prescription is evidence. It's medical evidence. It's much better than words that come out of your mouth, right? Or through a pen. Just letting you know. All right, November 6th, they backdated my claim to August and made me 100% PNT. Hey, congrats, Big B. Still fighting. Yeah, if you have SMCs, if there's an effective date, which I think you're implying, you certainly may want to look at that. B-Buck, thank you very much. I definitely appreciate that. Definitely appreciate that. Copious Cat, do you think I make it to 100% PNT with secondary claims if my 12 deferred conditions don't make me 100%? Copious, I can't, there's no way I can answer that, right? I need to know what you're rated for. I need to know what claims are deferred specifically. Probably talk to you about some symptomology, and then I could give you a guesstimate, right? If you want to, Copious, send me an email to TheCivDiv@gmail.com. I'd love to take a look and help you out. Okay. Robert P. Had CMP exam for hearing loss and back claim on Board of Appeals. Remand, they service connected hearing loss, but were unable to write my back after completing remand instruction. What could be the reason? So you're going to get a letter and it will tell you, right? I would like to see that. And then I could kind of decipher the letter for you if that's something that you're interested in. Yeah, but I don't know. Right. I don't see your evidence. I would have to look at your evidence, look at the letter at a minimum to even answer that. Wayne Smith, I would like to know if the VA are approving any claims for mental illness conditions from the Vietnam era for earlier effective dates. I think what you are asking is if you have PTSD from Vietnam, which sucks, by the way, right? Respect to you and that generation. You are not going to get back pay to the Vietnam era, right? It will go off of your intent to file, just like every other veteran. And if it were to be back paid to Vietnam, this country would be in debt to like the Decepticons, right? So not that we already aren't, but saying. Do you have to have an MRI for that? I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. Oh, thank you. If you could add some context, let me know. They denied my sleep apnea because I didn't fall asleep. How do I get a retest? You'd have to off a whim here. You're gonna have to appeal that, right? Ideally, you have a current diagnosis. You can't do that without getting a sleep test, right? If that claim is still in progress, which I guess you said they denied you already, so that's a no. It sounds like an obvious higher level review to me. That's what it sounds like. But I would certainly look into that. Okay, hold on. Okay, we got a few. Let's get to... All right, here we go. Josh, a.k.a. Uncle Leo. All right. On my PTSD DBQ, the examiner checked 30% on the DBQ. What would be some reasons why a rater would go above and below that recommendation? By the way, also diagnosed with severe alcohol use as well. Yeah, Josh. So it goes back to what I preach, right? Evidence-based claims. The VA can't ignore evidence. So during that exam, that's a one-time visit, right? That examiner isn't your primary care. They don't know you. They don't know your records. They skim them. They ask you some questions, jot down DBQ, send it to the VA, next veteran, right? So evidence comes in clutch. It's absolutely clutch for instances like this. And so if you have evidence of suicidal ideations, of difficulties maintaining effective relationships, of weekly panic attacks, right? So if you're seeking primary care and you talk about weekly panic attacks and that's in your evidence, that would give the rater cause to award you a higher percentage. I'm going to be very real with you. That doesn't really happen. Okay. It technically could. That would be a damn good rater if that did happen. However, if you know that's the case, you always have the higher level review as an option because you know your evidence. So when you do the HLR with an informal conference, you can say, hey, I deal with suicidal ideations. I have weekly panic attacks. I went to go, I see my psychiatrist by the VA or private weekly. And right here, it says, here are my symptoms. There we go. Knowing your evidence is absolutely clutch. Merry Christmas. Thank you for going live. Hey, thank you for showing up. I appreciate it. And especially for the don't know. Sorry, I can't type tonight. That's good. So far, so good at 80% fighting for the hubby. Yeah, applied for caregiver. Absolutely. Don't stop. As long as you're submitting evidence-based claims, every veteran should strive to be properly rated. Okay? That first word's key there. All right. Benjamin Bascones. Put in second claim. I'm 93% going for 100. Put first claim with no evidence or anything in my medical service record. If I get diagnosed privately after the ITF, can I use that as evidence? You can. There's a time consideration there, okay? But if you're still in the evidence gathering phase and you have more evidence, you want to submit that. Now, ideally, you take advantage of your intent to file, which is a year, and you submit an evidence-based claim all at once instead of like in trickles. But you're already there, not a huge deal, okay? Just get the evidence and submit as soon as you can. All right, thank you very much for the donations. I definitely appreciate it. Where are we at? Give me a second. I'm scrolling. Okay. Levon Smith. What can we do when the VA denies a supplemental claim and doesn't list the Nexus letter from IMO nor their own DBQ findings from a CMP examiner and the evidence that they claim to have reviewed? All right, so you have a denial. You have a denial of a supplemental claim. So on that decision letter, it'll say evidence reviewed, right? If your medical opinion was not a part of the evidence that was reviewed, which is really weird in a supplemental, it's quite common in an initial claim, right? Which is its own problem. In a supplemental, that is weird because that would be the new and relevant evidence. But in the event that the medical opinion was not reviewed, okay, you would just submit another supplemental claim with that medical opinion. I would really double check to see if that was reviewed or not. Nor their own DBQ finding from a CMP exam. That's also weird. That one's more weird because they would have reviewed the entire CMP exam results, as a VA heavily relies on CMP examiners. Yes, this is live. OG Lieb, it is absolutely live. What does Brian Reese say? Coming at you live with the whatever. Okay. It's a very sad attempt trying to be funny. Apologize. Okay. Coming at you live from Austin, Okay. OGs will think that's funny. Okay. Had a higher level review and they found duty to assist error. Need 3 CMP exams on same paper. They said under favorable findings, all 3 requirements have been noted. What now? You wait. Right, you're going to have new CMP exams. You chill. You are back in the standard claim process. Welcome. I can tell you, in the meantime, I would continue to seek treatment and start building evidence. Start and or continue building evidence. Alan Hurd, I had major heart surgery in 22. Mechanical aortic valve, aortic repair, bypass, aortic. I'm service connected for strokes. Is it too late to file? What type of rate do you think that would be? What diagnosis from your heart surgery are we talking about? All right, I know your service can be for strokes. To be real with you, and this is what I call let the VA do VA stuff. Whatever your diagnosis is right now is what I would submit and leave it be. Okay. Leave that be. I'm very curious as to the in-service events from that or the secondary causes of strokes and hearts. That's not my, I would really have to look into that to give you a solid answer. But regardless, I would submit a claim for that diagnosis and let the VA do VA stuff. Hey, y'all listen to this guy, God and his guidance. Hey, get it done. That's right. Got me 60. Hey, congrats to you. 60% as of today. If that's your proper rating, that's awesome. If not, keep pushing, right? Evidence-based claims. That's the way. Me Bizzer. For flat feet, if you have gotten surgery on your feet while in the military, can you still file a claim with the VA and receive compensation? Even as of right now, if it solved the problem during the surgery. Yeah, so you need a current diagnosis, right? I'm sure there's one there. But what you're implying is that your surgery completely healed your feet and there's nothing wrong there, right? In that case, I guess technically no. But there's probably a condition there, and that's what the VA would rate. Probably. I did an HLR on a low-balled 30% migraine. Can the HLR just raise it, or is it kicked back down the regional office? Depends. Okay, it's not to the regional office; it's to wherever it needs to go. But it depends. If you have the evidence right there on hand, yes, that rater can award you right then and there. That's exactly what happened to me. You have to have evidence, though. Okay. And when I say evidence, and I know YouTube people are going to get really butthurt over this, I'm not talking about a statement. I'm not talking about a buddy letter. I'm not talking about any of that stuff. A migraine log, right? That's just a statement. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking like hard medical evidence, right? And so re-upping your prescriptions for your migraine medication, right? Or doing the Botox treatment thing, the injections. Speaking to your primary care about the severity and the frequency of your migraines. That's medical evidence. Statements and migraine logs, and I know people preach this. I get it. They, by themselves, they suck. They're useless. Okay? They're stupid. If you don't have the evidence to back that up, these are dumb. When you have everything back and statements and migraine logs supporting your evidence, that's where they come in clutch. So to answer your question, James, it depends. My hubbies, DDD, they rated 10%, never scheduled for nomiometer reading. So you didn't have a in-person CMP exam. That's what it sounds like. It also sounds like it says degenerative disc disease, 10%. It could be incapacitating episodes. I think arthritis is also a part of that as well. That could have been why. Just depends. But regardless, if your hubby's range of motion, but then again, range of motion is relative, right? Because I assume you're older. So relative meaning someone who's 20 years old has much more of a natural range of motion than someone who's 80 years old, right? So range of motion might not be the highest rating there. Okay, if you file for PTSD, will that cause your weapons to be taken away? No. So I have it concealed, right? If you have a clearance, if you're a police officer, and you file for PTSD, and don't mean diddly squat. Okay, you're good. Now, there are red flag laws you should be aware of, right? But 99.9% of the time, it's not going to apply. And you'll know if you're psychotic, okay? You'll know if you're on that list, trust me. Okay. All right, Johnny. Merry Christmas from Korea. Hey, thanks. Appreciate that. Thank you for all you do. Johnny B. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, Kevin Kraus. Hello, fellow Gov worker. What's up? How common is it for the VA to take two 0% and combine them for a 10%? I'm going to say it's not really that common. I've also haven't seen that many 0% being pushed. But for the purposes of being compensable, yes, it's definitely a thing. I just really don't run into that much, especially in today's age where everyone is generally more informed and educated than they were back in the day. And that's why you're asking, right? You're at 94%. Yeah, so they're not going to do that probably, Kevin. What I would love to do, right, is I don't know if you sent me an email yet. I would love to look at your situation. I can tell you off the bat, the first thing I would do is look at presumptives if you qualify for any. If you qualify, two, if you can get a current diagnosis of any presumptive condition, that's exactly the route I would go. Then I would go increases, maybe secondaries or denials. It just depends, but that's kind of my thought process. Anytime I deal with someone who's 94%. P-High Marine. Just noticed that in a 22 DBQ for my back, that was denied. They provided a diagnosis for lumbar strain for 2005, which is within my service date. Should I file HLR? Just noted that in 22 DBQ for my back, that was denied. They provided a diagnosis for lumbar strain for 05, which was in my service. I need so much more than that, right? Because you were denied. I want to know what was the reason for denial first. We have to know that. We have to understand why you were denied in the first place. You just supplemental claim with more evidence of my back condition, but was denied because there was no nexus, right? So that was for the supplemental. Why were you denied initially, right? I get the nexus part. Feel free to shoot me that decision letter. Vanessa, hello, what's up? K&J, have my CMP exam in the morning, go for veteran era, any last minute advice? Yeah. For what? CMP exam for what exactly? Generally speaking, in every single CMP exam, I don't really care what the condition is for. The best advice for veterans going to CMP exam is this, right? Know your evidence. So let's say you're going for rhinitis or you're going for mental health. They're going to ask you, hey, when did your symptoms start? I would answer that question like this because I know my evidence, right? I'll say, hey, in 2012, I came back from Afghan. I started having depressive episodes, and I went to go see behavioral health on Camp Lejeune. So I'm talking about my symptoms, my depressive episodes. You can go a little bit more in depth in that. And I'm also referencing my evidence from my active time, right? So if you take that same concept and apply it to whatever exam you're going to, that would be my advice, 100%. Carolina dude, if I'm rated DDD with IVDS, radiculopathy, Bolton's at 40, 52, 43, can I be rated separately for bilateral? I forgot the code for incapacitating episodes. I want to know if that's it. Let me check this out real quick. CFR, what was that, 53? Come on, 5243. 5243. Five, 2, 4, 3. General rating, unless evaluated under formula rating for IVDS. Okay, unless evaluated for IVDS. Let's look at IVDS real quick. Hold on, give me a second. I'll answer this. IVDS assign this code when there is disc herniation with compression, irritation. So it's certainly rated as IVDS. That's not a question. Paralysis, we're looking at 5243. So based on your rating code, here, I should share my screen. I apologize. Let me share my screen so you see what I'm looking at so I don't sound like an idiot. Share screen. This is probably the best question I've had all night. Okay, is that working? All right, everyone can see that. Let me get my ugly face out the way real quick. Nope, this one. Okay, so the question is, your back is rated under 5243. Can you be rated for radiculopathy, right? Because if the back is rated under incapacitating episodes, that code, you're not able to connect those secondary or be rated for them, right? Okay, let me mark my place. So here is 5243, and read this note. We'll read it together. All right, for purposes of evaluation under that code, an incapacitating episode is a period of acute signs and symptoms due to IBDS that requires best prescribed a physician and treatment for a physician. It talks about IBDS, how it's rating, based on a generated formula for disease, spine, whichever method is higher. Okay, whichever method is higher. My question to you, because you are rated at 5243, if your range of motion is rated higher than your incapacitating episodes, the answer is yes. Okay. Generally speaking, that's the case for most. Tons of veterans, the overwhelming majority are range of motion. I've rarely seen any incapacitating episodes or straight arthritis of the back. And so I want to say yes off the top of my mind. But absolutely, regardless, if you have a diagnosis for radiculopathy, I would just submit the secondary claim and do what I call let the VA do VA stuff, right? You submit the current diagnosis and the evidence showing that your back is pinching the nerve. Let the VA do VA stuff. Great question, though. All right, Jeff B. submitted PAC that claim in February for asthma and sinusitis. Okay, PAC that claim is not a just to be technical, there's no such thing as a PAC that claim. It's just a claim, okay? Now, PACT Act legislation allow those to be presumptive conditions. CMP and PFT testing in October, approved sinusitis, received letter in mail November saying that I had to resubmit on correct form. Were you denied before? If you were denied for any of those, okay, then you have to do an 0995 or a supplemental claim. You can do it online for something as simple as this, and I'm going to assume you rate PACT Act. You could just do a supplemental online, not even do it through Quick Submit. You can just do it right there on va.gov. A cool little feature they added recently. All right, Tom Darko. It's easy to get my C file. Is it easy? It's easy to apply for it. And I guess it is easy to get because you don't do anything. After you apply, the question is, how long is it going to take? And that answer is 6 to 9 months. So if you got 6 to 9 months, sure, it's easy. Donald, I received a decision letter for plantar fasciitis and was told by the VA in my letter to file for pes planus, and I did. Waiting for a decision. Is that normal? Yes. So anytime you see the VA basically imply by telling you to do something, it's a great sign, right? I made a post on my community wall on YouTube about the gentleman who the VA recommended to request TDIU. Anytime you see the VA do something like that, it's a very good sign. Okay. QHUT. It's so stupid too, right? Because if they know the evidence is there, just do it, right? Just connect it. Just whatever. 100 PNT, 70%, 70 PTSD with TBI denied, 8 in attendance for SMCL. Next. Yeah, send me that decision letter. I can't give you advice without looking at it. It would be extremely out of pocket for me to even say anything without looking at the reason for the denial, right? Now, looking at those two conditions, right, that's definitely, you're definitely heading down that track. I could see that happening. Excuse me. But I would like to know the reason for denial exactly. Samuel Nieves. Hi. Hello. I was granted service connection for migraines back in May of 29 at 0. Recently got my increased decision. Now I'm at 50, but my effective date changed to November 6th. Can I appeal the effective date? You put... So it doesn't seem like you appealed it. It seems like you did an increase. If that's the case, the answer would be no. Okay. If you just said increase, but you meant appeal, you could do an HLR on the effective date, right? That's an option at least. Solid on you though for going from 0 to 50. Jeff B, I had VSO had previously filed for me in 92 when I got out after first Gulf War. Now I'm told I will have to go to another CMP exam again. Total BS. They have the MO from pulmonologist and completed DBQ. Yeah. So many factors go into medical opinions and DBQs, and just because you submit one doesn't mean you don't have to go to a CMP exam. Okay. Now there are times that CMP exams aren't warranted and you aren't scheduled one, right? There are also times where CMP exams aren't warranted and the VA still schedules one. That's absolutely a thing. But just because you submit a medical opinion in DBQ doesn't mean anything at all. It just means that you submitted evidence. And you'll hear the term, develop to deny. That's what this sounds like, to be honest with you. A lot of factors go into medical opinions, though, like, did they review all of your records? Is there any competing evidence that was ignored? And that one trips. Anytime I see a medical opinion get denied, it's usually because the provider did not look at competing evidence, right? So the most common one is sleep apnea. I can't tell you how many sleep apnea claims I've seen where they had a medical opinion. It was pretty solid, except that opinion didn't address the obesity of the veteran, right? That's competing evidence. I don't care what the correlation is besides that. That is 100% competing evidence. It's very strong competing evidence. And so once the VA puts 2 and 2 together, they say, hey, you're fat, you're denied. That's paraphrased, but that's basically what happens, okay? And so you have to look at all evidence and competing evidence and also give your opinion with that competing evidence involved. Recommendation to fire yourself or get help when doing BDD. Xavier, 9 times out of 10 is going to be use a VSL, okay? Now, what I would do is a combination of the two. For BDDs, you need to do 2 things. 1, make a list of everything you were seen for while active. 2, make a list of everything you deal with that you weren't seen for, right? Like, hey, my knee hurts, but I never complained about it. Put those lists together, give that to your VSO, they'll submit the claims, right? That's a Borne style version. Now, depending on how much time you have till that date, anything that's on that second list that you weren't seen for, go get seen for it. Okay. That would be my recommendation for anyone doing a BDD. Benny DeMarble, 70 MH, 70 mental health, recently awarded IU. How long does it take IU to become PNT? No one can answer that, brother. No one can answer that. It's very common to see IU turn into PNT IU, okay? But no one can answer that, right? It could be 5 years, be whatever. Yo, what up, brother? What's up? Appreciate that. Does PTSD cause you? No. It's like the 3rd time you asked that. I'll answer the questions. Just relax. Does Dr. Sharma charge per Nexus letter, or will he do Nexus for multiple conditions in one letter? What's his price range? He'll do multiple, okay? His price range is $650 to $850, I believe. $850 is the cap. Don't quote me on that, right? That's his business, but I believe it's $850. Yes, he'll do multiple. I have a video of one of his letters, actually, if you want to review it. And then that, if I remember, this was a while ago, but if I remember, that one had 3 conditions roped into that. All right, I'll just post it down there if you want to take a peek. There it is. All right, Benji, 90%. Just put my second claim of the day. Hopefully get that 100%. Use your videos for some assistance. Hey, that's what they're there for. Appreciate that. I hope that helped. I hope you submitted an evidence-based claim. If you're watching my videos, you know you should be submitting an evidence-based claim. I was lucky enough to have nothing in my medical record in the military, and they awarded me 90%. They diagnosed me in my CMP exams. What a comment to read after I say evidence-based claims, right? Yeah, man. So there are other evidence other than medical evidence. Okay, there's evidence other than medical that is considered. Roy Rodriguez says going for CMP exam tomorrow for vertigo secondary to tinnitus. Any tips? Yeah, there's nothing you can be honest, right? Looking at vertigo secondary to tinnitus, and I'm going to be very straight with you. There are some secondaries that are pretty difficult. This is one of them. Vertigo is a very hard secondary to get connected. I don't know why, to be honest with you. But yeah, the tips would be just be honest, right? Talk about your vertigo symptoms. Talk about how your tinnitus is linked to your vertigo. That's going to be the big challenge there. But absolutely. You might want to consider Dr. Erickson from Maryland as well. I don't get anything from that relationship, by the way. But I would definitely consider that if denied. Okay, nameless. I got CMP exam for bilateral flat feet and migraines. Any idea how that might go? Been on medication for migraines and I'm getting through therapy for flat feet. Yeah, so I want to know what your in-service events are first, right? You have the current treatment. That's good. In-service events are going to be clutch. But how that appointment's going to go pretty fast, actually, for migraines. They're just going to ask you about your migraines, right? The frequency, the severity of your symptoms. You are taking medication. I would be sure to say that, saying, hey, I get 10 pills per bottle, and I re-up my prescription every 3 months, right? I get about 3 or 4 migraines per month, and that's when I use this medication, whatever fits your symptoms. That's how that will go. For flat feet, pretty simple. You're going to take your shoes and socks off. They're going to look at them. You'll stand up on them. They might give an x-ray. Just depends on how pronounced they are. And then you go from there. So relatively quick. Kevin Krause, sure we don't lose gun routes? Asking for you. Yes, I'm sure. Thank you for that. That's awesome. I appreciate the $2. Thank you very much. Yeah, good one. No, solid. Okay, sorry, Tracy. I had CMP exam recently for lower back. Answered questions. No range of motion given. Asked examiner about, I believe this is twist. He said VA only wanted a pain report. I asked him, are you sure? He said, yeah, that's all they wanted. That is certainly weird. What I would do, Tracy, is do a personal statement. Just write down what you said here a little bit more in depth, probably 2 paragraphs worth, and just get it on evidence. Do a personal statement. Upload it via quick submit. Call the VA after you upload it, and just let them know about the CMP exam. All right, Dale Rush. I'm a Vietnam veteran currently at 80. What percentage do I need to reach 100%? Brother, I need more than that, okay? Are you 76%? Are you 84%? You got some bilateral factors going on there, right? I need a ton more information from that. But this is kind of what I recommend to every veteran. Don't aim for the 100% mark. I know that sounds stupid. I would recommend you get properly rated. So whatever conditions that you have that you can submit an evidence-based claim for, submit the claim, right? I don't care if that puts you at 30% or 100%, be properly rated, right? Submit that evidence-based claim, call it a day. All right, Roy Ray Rodriguez, apologize. Just a little background. I was seen and tested with the local audiologist for BPPV and tested positive. Audiologist wrote a Nexus statement where I submitted along with my claim. I think that's about the vertigo claim we talked about. Yes, it is. Yeah, that's a lot better, right? That makes me feel more confident in the secondary vertigo. Absolutely. Okay. Austin says, diagnosed with PTSD, alcohol, MD, 50% for mental health, trying to get 70, had my CMP exam, was able to tell him everything I deal with, considered he just, and yes or no question. Yeah, Austin. Prime example of why we submit evidence-based claims, even for an increase, right? So ideally, you have your primary or referred care, and you're seeking treatment constantly with whoever that person is, and they are documenting your symptoms. That's called evidence. So when you put in for the increase, you have the CMP exam, you relay your symptoms to them. In the event that you're underrated, which it implies here, that's what you think, you can kind of fall back onto your evidence, right? And then you can speak on your evidence during that exam. So let's say, here, I'll explain that a different way. I'm going in for an increase for mental health from 50 to 70. The last 3 months, I've seen my healthcare team for mental health 4 times. I talked about suicidal ideations. I talked about relationships, XYZ. When I had that CMP exam, here's how that conversation goes, right? Hey, talk to me about mental health, or hey, have you had suicidal ideations? Wherever the question is, I'm going to gear it towards what I want to say. So I would respond with, well, let's say it's December. Well, in the beginning of October, I saw my primary care at the VA. I see the psychiatrist there regularly, and we talked about suicidal ideations and cognitive-based therapy, right? You see how I am referencing my evidence while talking about my symptoms, all right? That is what veterans need to do, right? I won't say it's a skill or a craft. It's just knowing your evidence, right? That is only possible if you have evidence to reference, okay? I know someone's going to say personal statement this and buddy letter that, and I get it. Those are stupid. That's a YouTube thing, I promise you. Statements support evidence, right? Without evidence, those statements are duty. I promise you they're worthless, okay? You have to have evidence. So for you, Austin, the question is, do you have evidence? If not, go get it, right? Go get evidence and prepare a supplemental claim. If you do have evidence, you know that you can at least do the HLR route, right? And then reference your evidence during that higher level review. All right. Yeah, you were discharged for personality order. Back to your previous comments, it sounds, I would go direct personally, and I'm saying that without looking at your evidence. Is this a bad sign, or did I mess up my CMP exam? No, you didn't mess it up. That's probably the anxiety talking here. Just breathe, okay? Breathe, brother. Just breathe. Okay, what's the frequency, Joe? Always type up all of your complaints, evidence, and prescriptions for each exam. The examiner will thank you for bringing it. Most will be super appreciative that you are proactive with your claim. Yeah, agreed. Okay. There's definitely a personality factor there that I would be aware of. But absolutely. Okay. Being prepared will help not only you, but it'll help the examiner. Because I'm going to be real with you. This is a government contract, right? And these examiners you're not going to find the world's best psychologists at a CMP exam. Okay. You're just not. So yeah, absolutely. Help them out, help them, help you. Ed, Merry Christmas. Thank you very much. Same to you. Thanks to you and Doc. After 23 years, I finally got to 100% P&T. Guys, stay in the battle, never give up. I almost did. Ed, thank you so much for that, for keeping me informed and updated. I appreciate that. Congrats to you and your family. It should be an awesome Christmas, right? You got that back pay. Go do something nice with the fam. don't take financial advice from me, right? Do your thing. Congrats. Appreciate that. All right. Hey man, hope you're well. I'm good, right? It was a family type of thing. Yep. Merry Christmas to you too. Can I set up a one-on-one? You can. Just send me an email, right? Emails are free. Send me an email. I will answer every single email. I had about 200 some emails yesterday, and right now I have 70. So I do answer every single email. It just takes me a little bit. Just give me some time, okay? Had CNP today for migraines and knee pain, both in medical history from when in service. CNP exam lasted 12 minutes. Opinion. Yeah. Some CNP exams are fast. Okay, some are really long. Generally speaking, the mental health exams are longer. For musculoskeletal conditions, especially like knees, are pretty fast, right? So they should be looking at range of motion for your knee, sitting down, and then they'll look at range of motion for your knee when you're standing up, right? Or weighted. So you kind of go down like this. And that's pretty fast, right? Especially if you already have x-rays, you already have the in-service event. I'm going to assume you already have x-rays. It should generally be fast. What's my opinion on it? I don't know. I'd have to look at the evidence for myself. Cliff, same to you. Thank you very much. 4 kids, well done. Yeah. Red Leg, I love that name, by the way. You seem like you'd be a great dad. Question, is 100% P&T common for the VA to reduce? No. No, it's not. I know YouTube will tell you otherwise. It's weird because I love YouTube and I hate it at the same time. YouTube would tell you otherwise, but I'm telling you, no, it's not. The most common, there's 2 reasons that are most common for P&T to be reduced, right? Number 1 is fraud. Yes, it does happen. Number 2 is the VA made a mistake, right? I've seen that a few times with the VA, like, hey, we didn't mean to award you this. Sorry, this is your rating, right? That does suck, but again, you can't really, like I say, you can't blame them because you can, but that veteran was properly rated in that instance, right? All right, X dollar smash savage business consulting exploration. I'm so confused, to be honest with you. Let me see if you said anything else so I can get contacts with that. I don't know. I'm lost. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm lost in the sauce, big dog. Yeah. Oh, here we go. How to schedule business consult with you. Okay. So I don't really do business consultations. You can email me. We can have a one-on-one. And emails are free. That's fine. That makes way more sense. Send me an email, $smash savage, TheCivDiv@gmail.com. And I'll kind of type that in there. TheCivDiv@gmail.com. Okay. Hit me up. Let me know that you're asking for a one-on-one. I'm going to send you a questionnaire. I'm going to have some information from you, like what you're rated for, what you've been denied, how long you've been in. Like if you were in for like 90 to 98, 2010 to 2015, and what deployments have you been on? I'm looking for presumptives in those 2 instances. But sure, absolutely. If you would like to get some one-on-one time, let me know. All right, and Kevin Kraus. Is there a rating for contracting crabs and scabies from public toilet seat located VMC? No, but you're instantly becoming my favorite person on this stream. No, not really. That's hilarious. Asking for a friend. That's solid. You got me. Okay. Let's go back up to, I want to finish. I'm going to get off here soon-ish. Answer as many questions as I can. Amigo, thanks for being genuine and overall good dude. Hey, thank you. Appreciate that. You matter too. Absolutely. I try to be, my content, I try to be as real as possible because sometimes I watch people's YouTube videos. I'm just like, there's no way I just can't take them serious, I guess is a professional way to say that. Okay. Terry Demi, just curious. If I put in a claim for sleep apnea and they get to ankle, back, and PTSD, where they review all the things. Yeah, so this is how claims go, okay? And this is definitely not common knowledge for some reason. Let's say I submit a claim for sleep apnea. The VA is going to look at direct service connection. I don't care if you submit it secondary, they're going to look at direct service connection. So in your letter, it will state, hey, this person, no complaints or whatever. And then I always hear, well, I didn't do it direct. It doesn't matter. The VA is obligated to look at all avenues of service connection. Vice versa, they'll look at it the other way as well. So sleep apnea secondary, it's not necessarily ankle and back, although back would be the better option of those two. But obesity could be an intermediate step there. And then PTSD is the most probable, assuming you're not obese. So to answer your question, the answer is yes. Yes, they would. I also want to let you know that sleep apnea, and again, I know YouTube will say otherwise, sleep apnea is not an easy claim, okay? Not even a little bit. Oh, we got our new member, Nathan Wilkes. Thank you very much for being a member. I appreciate that. Thanks for supporting. Yeah, Kevin. No, thank you. I definitely appreciate it. Yeah. All right, awesome. New member. Let's go. Okay, we're actually not that far from the bottom. Pretty good chance I can get to every single question. Claim diabetes as secondary to depression, alcohol abuse. CMP examiner stated I was pre-diabetic in service, and she said she would write it up as direct service connection. Thoughts? That is a good sign of that CMP examiner, to be honest with you. There's a lot more I need to know to actually give you a solid answer. But looking at the examiner, they would have to review your evidence to even write the opinion on direct. In that instance, it seems like the examiner didn't believe in that secondary connection, which is your evidence states it's not secondary because you had the condition prior, right? So it can't be secondary. So the only avenue of approach for that examiner was to go direct, and that makes sense to me. And that's a good indications of a good examiner. I don't know if that will be connected or not, right? Because the VA has that decision. But all right, thank you for your continued help. The vets will be subscribing to your channel. Hey, thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. This channel is a slow grower. All right. I got my fourth kid on the way. I'm in grad school. Jay's also in grad school. So we upload when we can. Slow growth. Jerry Lopez. I just received my DBQs from Vera. I have my M8 secondary lumbar strain and radiculopathy, left leg, right leg, secondary lumbar. Can I send you what you think? Yeah, you can. Absolutely, Jerry. Send me that. I ask that you redact. If you send me anything, redact the PII. Okay. OPSEC is something that I teach in my day job. It just really gets under my skin when people send me PII. But hey, if you send it to me, it's on you, not on me. Okay. But I don't want it. I do not want that. Send me your DBQs. I'd love to take a look. Cliff, are headaches, migraines presumptive under Gulf War Vet PACT Act? Not the PACT Act specifically. You're looking at TARA, okay? And migraines could be presumptive under MUMCI, unexplained illness. There's a whole acronym there. I forgot what it is. One of my really good friends was presumptive for migraines from his Iraq pump in 03. So the answer is yes. Yes, they can. It is not common. Okay. Not common at all. But yes. Once a person has P&T, can the VA take it away? No. No. I know YouTube says otherwise, but that answer is no, right? Given fraud or the VA made a mistake, right? Outside of those two, generally speaking, no. All right, Ronald Marcotte. Do you know how to force the VA to treat you? Yeah, go see VA healthcare, right? I wouldn't be as aggressive, right, as that kind of implies, but talk to your primary care, right? Be open with them, talk with them, be transparent with your primary care. They will appreciate that. Let them know what's going on. Be nice. Don't be a douche. And you should be good. Should be good. All right. Do you think the backlog and influx of submissions has been influenced by YouTube? Yes. Right. As far as claims submitted, I would say the internet, not just YouTube, but the subreddit Veterans Benefits. Absolutely. Okay. That's a pretty solid resource. YouTube for sure. I would probably argue the amount of baloney claims submitted to the VA has increased because of YouTube. That would be my argument. Okay. I understand the clickbait titles and stuff. Like, I get it. I have a few of those too, but veterans got to submit evidence-based claims, and we have to stop complaining and bitching about the VA. We have to, right? Submit evidence-based claims. Understand the process as it pertains to you. Don't worry about anything else. That would be my advice. All right, Trinet Gates. Have an in-service neck sprain from 91 that I want to claim with current diagnosis of radiculopathy. Had a car wreck in 2020. Whiplash, unfavorable to. That's unfavorable, I'll tell you that. So that's competing evidence. Now, you do have the in-service event. Your saving grace is going to be the continuity and chronicity, your condition being chronic from 91 to now. I'm going to assume you don't have that, okay? In which case would be bad. In which case the car wreck would be competing evidence. And they would probably argue that your condition came from the car wreck and not from service. Probably. I'm saying that without seeing your evidence, okay? So don't take that to heart. Now, the opposite, if you have continuous care that shows a chronic condition in your neck from 91 to now, to include previous or prior to the car wreck, that's a much better argument. Best Star Wars movie? Oh, man. To be honest with you, Phantom Menace is my personal favorite. Let me get some things out for you real quick. Hold on. I have a bunch of stupid stuff, right? Darth Maul is hands down one of my favorite characters of all time. I have so much stupid things over here on the left side, but Phantom Menace is my personal favorite. Okay. Now, best Star Wars ever is definitely the Clone Wars, right? The animated series. I'm not a cartoon person at all. I actually hate cartoons, but Darth Maul storyline is insane. I love it. Okay. All favorable findings binding. I don't even know what you're asking, but favorable findings are fact, right? So favorable findings. You were diagnosed with the disability. The C&P exam on that date diagnosed you with migraines. That's a fact. You have a migraine diagnosis, right? Fact. The claimed primary condition is a service-connected disability. Fact, right? So I wouldn't say they're binding isn't the word that I would use, but it's the VA saying, of the big three, give me 1 minute. All right, that's how you know I've been streaming too long. Okay. Of the big three, the in-service event, the current diagnosis, and the Nexus, You won't find the Nexus in the favorable findings. It's the VA telling you, hey, you have the in-service event, right? You have the current diagnosis. And so they're kind of giving you the cheat code, so to speak, on that claim. All right, Stuart Stevenson, hearing loss and tinnitus denied twice. I worked in aviation. Do you have any suggestion how I can create good evidence? Yeah, Stuart. I can't give you any advice on the denial without seeing the decision letter. Feel free to send it to me in an email. I'd love to take a look. That's TheCivDiv@gmail.com. But can't really give advice without seeing that. Mivery of service connection should be concede correct. Are favorable findings binding of service connection? I'm just going to refer back to what I said. Create evidence. Go to your PCM and complain about the flight line. Yeah, that would help. Absolutely. All right, red leg. Only way you get to your 2A right stripped away with PTC if you were admitted. Yep. Admitted, and then you have to be put on there's a red flag law for each state. Okay, it's a state thing, and the VA will report that to the states. It's a state heavy thing. You have to be batshit crazy. Okay. Do you need to have a specialist do the nexus of orthopedic issues, or can your family practitioner work? If your family practitioner is your primary care and they've seen that's who you see regularly, that opinion is going to have a lot of weight to it, because they see you regularly, right? Especially if that nexus is free from your primary or referred care. I would go for it, assuming they understand what the VA needs in a nexus. But a one-time visit is shaky, right? And so IMOs and DBQs are not the end-all be-all to win your claim. They certainly help, right? Sometimes they harm your claim. It just depends. All right. Denied me twice as well. You would have had, yeah. All right. Vanessa just got her decision letter. I'm not sure what it actually means, so I'm going to email you and Doc. Okay, I'll take a look. I'll take a look. I'll definitely take a look. Everyone here is getting their percentage, but yet I can't get the VA to approve nothing for me. Mr. Yodi, what's up, dog? What's up? What's going on? Right? What's evidence-based claims, right? Evidence-based claims. All right, Keezy. I got a 50% back in November last month for mental health, but I feel like I was lowballed. I have so many mental diagnoses. Do I need to file for an increase, or do I need to wait? Yeah, Keezy. So you were just awarded, so you could file supplemental, assuming you have new evidence. Assuming you have evidence of symptoms that would push you to 70, you could do an HLR, right? You're going to have the evidence on hand. That's going to have to kind of go above and beyond that CMP exam, but it is a possibility, right? Or you could just get new evidence from your primary care about your symptoms and submit that in a supplemental claim. For asthma, is prescribed for 2 times a day, should be that 30%. There are FFV ratings. I'm not sure off the top of my head, right? I know it's FFV. I don't know if there's other treatments a part of that. I'd have to look into that a little bit deeper. Merlin, I'm diagnosed with elevated blood pressure without hypertension. Okay. And was prescribed hypertension pills. Can I still file a claim? Yeah, I would. 100%. 100%. You have the documented symptom that would lead to a diagnosis. Okay. I don't know enough about elevated blood pressure without hypertension. I want to say you just don't have the enough readings within a certain time period to kind of rate that. That's my guess. Angela says, have anyone who can help me with the queue and entitlement to receive a claim? Generally speaking, with the Q, you're probably going to want to look at representation because the VA is not going to willingly say they made a clear unmistakable error, right? Generally speaking. All right. Where can we send you our decision letters to look at? Yeah, TheCivDiv@gmail.com. TheCivDiv@gmail.com is my email. Can gallbladder removal after I was out be service connected? I'm not sure about the removal, right? What made it be removed? Hack VA. Let's go take a peek. Especially for the Gulf War. Let me take a look at that. Cancers, gallbladder removal. At first glance, I want to say no. Okay, that doesn't mean that's right. This is my first glance. My question is, what caused it to be removed, and is that from service? If that answer is yes, if it's from service, I would just submit the claim and let the VA do VA stuff. C&P examiner denies supplemental claim for back pain, DDD, bilateral knee, because they had access to STR. It was a secondary claim for pain, not during service, but after. Any thoughts? Yeah, I'm so confused by this. So first off, when you submit a secondary claim, okay, when you submit any claim, the VA will look at direct and they will look at secondary. Doesn't matter what you submit it as. They're obligated to. Also, the C&P examiner didn't deny it. It was the VA. The C&P examiner wrote the opinion. I just don't know what the secondary claim is for. Back pain, secondary. Okay. Back pain, secondary to knees. Difficult claim. That's a very hard claim to win. It's not common. I know people will say it's common. It's not. It's very difficult to prove that your knee conditions caused your back condition, especially degenerative disc disease. My thoughts, I'd have to see the decision letter, right? If you have the C&P exam results, I'd love to see those as well. But yeah, you're going to have to combat the opinion. The VA did my PACT Act survey and telehealth questionnaire. I finally got approved for VA healthcare. If I used them, would help my future claims. Absolutely. Okay. 100%. A large portion of the PACT Act that no one talks about is healthcare. And that is a prime example of PACT Act really coming clutch for veterans. Okay. Cliff, thank you for the donation. I definitely appreciate it. I have my favorable findings that I meet presumptive requirements for the condition I claimed for migraines. Submitted DD-214 that shows I was there. I have a diagnosis still denied. Yeah, so migraines are not like sinusitis or rhinitis, right? Those are presumptive conditions under the PACT Act legislation for various countries. Migraines are not under PACT Act. They're not. Right, but they could be presumptive under TARA, which is not common. And if that's the case, it would be MUCMI, which is unexplained chronic illness, something like that, right? It's a whole acronym. I've only seen that once. It's one of my good friends has migraines presumptive from Iraq in 2003. You have a diagnosis, but you were denied. I'm going to assume you were denied because of the in-service event, and therefore no Nexus was established, right? And so that leads me to push secondary. So some common disabilities you want to think of is tinnitus and mental health, especially the anxiety side of the house, PTSD, anxiety. Those two are a strong argument or a good argument for migraine secondary. High blood pressure is pretty good. Obesity is pretty good. Sleep apnea is pretty good. Insomnia is pretty good. Chronic pain, neck pain, that could be pretty solid. Just depends, Cliff. I would like to know everything you're rated for. Feel free to shoot me an email. And we can kind of explore secondary. That's what it sounds like. You're going to have to go down that route. Okay. Every time I think we're getting to the bottom, just a buttload more questions get asked. Okay. We're kind of almost there. I'm 100% P&T, mental health, PTSD, and I've bought guns since I rang. There we go. There we go. One, that sucks. I'm definitely sorry to hear that. I'm glad you're rated. But yes, you can be 100% PT, 100% P&T for mental health, and purchase firearms, be a police officer, do whatever you want. GSF. Is it considered pyramiding if I was awarded 60% for range of motion of knees, but doing so decrease my 20% for bipolar femoral syndrome? It's not. So the knees are weird, right? Especially when you get into the high ratings of knees, they could definitely combine that pyramid. So it's not uncommon. And I realized I didn't click that. I have medical evidence of prescribed knee braces for instability, and I was anticipating a higher rating due to several conditions on my knees. It's pretty common. Once you get up there in the knee condition ratings, basically over 20%, that's whenever things start being combined. Okay. It's very common. That high of a rating for knees is not common. Once you get up there, what you're talking about is common. You will not lose your gun rights. Yeah, stop worrying. Relax, dude. Relax. Go to the range for some therapy. That's what I do. Right. If you are on my Patreon to support the channel, I always show pictures of my son and I going to the range. He has this little 22 Walther P. It's pretty cool. All right. Okay, I will. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. All right. I was gonna say I'll show you my Christmas present on YouTube, but YouTube will block it, so I'll do it on Patreon. But okay. Do you know if applying for TDIU would disqualify someone for VeteranAI? No. That alone won't. Working PT, and hard fighting work without aggravating servicing issues to my degree. No. So it is weird to see. No, right. So VeteranAI, they kind of go together. VeteranAI is your disabilities and current skill sets are preventing you from gainful employment. TDIU, obviously, you're prevented from gainful employment, right? So ideally, you go through VeteranAI to be employed. You get employed. Once you cross that limit, you're going to lose TDIU. Just FYI, keep that in mind, right? VeteranAI is an employment program. The goal is to get you employed. Okay, for BDD, file each diagnosis separately or with secondary. Yeah, so there's no secondaries on BDDs and personal statements. Jesus Christ. I hate YouTube. I hate YouTube. I hate it. Personal statements are dumb. Okay. I promise you they're stupid. They do have their role, right? But you have to have evidence. And in a BDD claim, you're going to have evidence. You're going to. Even if you don't and you have a CMP exam, that's your evidence. So yes, you file the diagnosis separately, right? If you're doing this on your own, let's just talk worst case scenario. You're doing it on your own. You're not going through a VSO, which I would recommend you do. Let's say you don't want to. If you file PTSD, insomnia, depression, anxiety, all those are going to be roped together. Now, you may not know that. To be honest with you, it doesn't matter. The VA is going to do VA stuff. So if you submit diagnosis separately, but under the same tree, don't sweat it. Okay. Michael, I want you to submit everything that you were seen for and everything that you weren't seen for that currently hurts. That's what I want you to submit. Right. Don't worry about all this YouTube stuff you're hearing. Does not apply to you or anyone else in the BDD claim process. It doesn't. Don't worry about statements. Don't worry about secondaries. Don't worry about increases. Don't worry about Nexus letters. Nothing. None of that matters to you. All you need to do is 3 things. Make a list of everything you were seen for. Make a list of everything you weren't seen for, but hurts, like your knee or your back, mental health, whatever. 3, put 1 and 2 together, submit that as a BDD. There we go. That's all you need to do. Don't worry about anything else. Nathan, currently working in a protected work environment. Yeah. Okay, I see that now. Yeah, so TDIU is going to have an income limit. You might want to consider that prior to going down that route. Oli, I'll get to you in about a second. You're going to want to consider the income limit for TDIU, Nathan. Absolutely. Okay, Oli, the rater valued the CMP examiner's report more than my doctor's Nexus because the CMP examiner had access to SCRs. Yes, that is a... man, I hate this for you, okay? Because whoever wrote your opinion is stupid, right? And I say that very professionally. No opinion should be written for direct service connection without service treatment records. In fact, it's impossible. It is impossible to write an opinion for direct service connection without evidence from service. It's absolutely impossible. Okay. I would like to know who wrote that opinion. I would like to see that opinion for myself just to really make sure and look at the evidence piece. But whoever wrote that to you, we need to make sure that no other veteran goes through them because they obviously care about the money more than their own opinion. All right. Thank you for that, Greg. Appreciate it. Yeah, as facts. That's a good word. That's a good use of binding. Okay, let me go back to where we were at. All right, Terry. Thank you for helping everyone. I got to go. Hey, Merry Christmas to you. Yeah, I'm going to go here soon. It's almost midnight. I'm crazy. John Rios, my primary care doctor, wrote in my problem list, other recurrent depressive disorder, ICD. Okay. Diagnosis. Yes, that is an official diagnosis. ICD codes, International Classification of Diseases, I think, ICD. All that stuff means something, but yes, that's a diagnosis. All right, Keezy, I was denied for migraines secondary to tinnitus, but now in my medical evidence show that tinnitus causing my migraines. Now in my doctor notes from VA and audiologists. Okay. It sounds like you have new and relevant evidence for that secondary, which is good, right? I think that would rate the supplemental claim. It's pretty solid evidence, actually, and that's assuming that the denial was for the Nexus. I'm going to assume you're currently diagnosed as well. So yeah, absolutely. Jim Jones, I found out that I had cerebral palsy at birth. Didn't even know it. I had it when I joined the service. Should I, the VA hospital, know that I had this before I joined? For healthcare, absolutely, Jim Jones. Okay. For healthcare, yes. That's kind of a weird line to teeter-totter, right? Because when you have private records, you don't have to give all those to the VA. You don't have to. You can give them specific records. You can give them access with the 4142 for sure. You don't have to, right? But for healthcare reasons, there's no reason not to, right? Benefit reasons, it totally depends. 9 times out of 10, the answer is yes. All right, FYI, transitioning service members filing BDD claims can access their CMP exams. Yes, they can, absolutely. Is it still the TRICARE online patient portal, or is it that Genesis thing? I'm not really familiar with it too much, but Genesis for every service is basically TRICARE online. But yeah, that's what he said. Morbid obesity is not the same as obesity. Most Americans fall on obese. LOL, no shame on obese game. Yes, they're certainly different. I think that was from the sleep apnea conversation, but it's certainly competing evidence, obese or morbid, competing evidence for sleep apnea. Why is sleep apnea not an easy claim? It's a great segue here. It's not as simple as 50% if you have CPAP. No, it's for right now, 50% CPAP, yes. The service connection for sleep apnea is difficult when it's secondary. If it's direct, it's pretty easy peasy. You have a diagnosis and service, 1 for 1, right? The reason why it's a difficult claim is because looking at causation versus correlation. I know people on YouTube will say PTSD causes sleep apnea, and it doesn't, right? Medically, it does not. That doesn't mean you can't be service connected for it. It just means there's no causation, which forces you to look at correlation, right? So correlating factors could be, hey, this veteran has PTSD, this veteran has hypertension, this veteran has a 40% back rating that has caused them to be obese, right? So now we have obesity as an intermediate step, which is another correlating factor. This veteran was deployed to parts of the world that had heavy particulate matter, like burn pits and stuff like that, pollution, to say that blanketly, and was exposed to asbestos, right? All of those are correlating factors. That would be a pretty strong claim for sleep apnea. When a veteran doesn't have correlating factors, that's where you see denials, right? When a veteran has competing evidence, like they are obese and that obesity is not going to be used as an intermediate step, that's competing evidence. That's probably going to be denied every single time. But that's why it's not an easy claim. All right, Gerardo Hernandez. Does tinnitus secondary to migraines make sense? I got it during service, but not sure how to prove it. It does get worse when I have bad migraines. Okay, so the inverse is true, yes. It makes sense. It makes sense to me. I don't know about medical literature. I don't know that much about audiology, right? It does make sense. I would assume if migraines is a common secondary to tinnitus, I would assume the opposite relationship exists. I don't know for a fact. I would assume that. What I would recommend, Gerardo, is just talk to your primary care, talk to your audiologist, your healthcare team, and just ask them. Ask them straight up. Yes, that's common, especially looking at the polyps, right? Your sinus issues, rhinitis, sinusitis, very common to have. It's very common for respiratory conditions to cause migraines. Exactly how far back can an effective date go? To the intent to file, right? Or I guess the Q, a clear unmistakable error would be the technical answer. But whatever the intent to file date is, assuming everything's lined up properly. Orange remediation, yep. Hey, what's up? Awesome. Merry Christmas to you too. Yes, whenever the All right, I think we're about towards the bottom here. I'll probably answer up. Can my anxiety get 90% alone? No. Right, 10, 30, 50, 70, 100. And if you can talk about secondary, sure. But anxiety by itself, the answer is no. Dude, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, almost done here. Submitted a claim for increase in tinnitus for insomnia, depression, anxiety. I did not receive CMP exam, but my case is now in decision. I submitted my VA medical records evidence. What does that mean? That's not a good sign. I can tell you that. I assume you mean you submitted secondaries of insomnia, depression, anxiety to tinnitus. I would like to know what evidence you're referring to. I know it's VA medical records, but exactly what evidence? Because not having CMP exams, especially without a fully developed claim, it's not a good sign. Not a good sign. All right. How current is a current diagnosis? 1 year. 1 year is a current diagnosis. Okay. Now that doesn't mean if you have a diagnosis 3 years ago, it's worthless. That does not mean that at all, right? It wouldn't hurt to have documented symptoms, right? That would lead to that diagnosis. that would be a little bit stronger, but yeah. All right, Mr. Yodi. In the future, I want to speak with you about my claims after my VA visits to impact that presumptive. Yeah, Yodi. Thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. Send me an email. Okay, we can talk. Absolutely. I email a lot of veterans, right? A lot of veterans. Too many actually, but I do answer every single one. Send me an email, right? We'll talk about it. Yeah, go from there. Okay. Sleep apnea claim and HLR. Level review. They noted under favorable findings. I have a diagnosis of an in-service event and Nexus. I mean, that seems pretty good for sleep apnea. If you're talking about sleep apnea with an in-service event, solid. Okay, so absolutely solid. Feel free to send me that decision letter. I can probably give you more information on that. But yeah, if that's the case, that's pretty good. C. Miller currently at 10 for tinnitus. Just had CMP exam 2 days ago. Lab work done for liver. Actually, was at Camp Lejeune water drinking. Have you heard what happens with these claims? Yeah, it's just like every other claim. It'll be processed. They will look at TERA, toxic exposure, and they'll go through that. You are going to need a diagnosis, okay? No diagnosis, no claim. But assuming you have a diagnosis, and that's covered under the Camp Lejeune water stuff, it's pretty easy, actually. They noted DTA. Yep, got it. I need the TheCivDiv gear for Christmas gifts, bro. My kids. Yeah, well, I do have 5 more hats left. Okay. Snapbacks, pretty good. I love them. That's what I wear all the time. But yeah, I got shirts left. So I'm probably not going to do clothes again. I took a pretty big hit on that, but it was fun. Charles, yeah, they denied me for migraines under TERA, but conceded that I did have migraine. Yeah, so he had the current diagnosis. He just didn't meet the presumption there. Hey, what's up? No, I am good. I was good. It was my daughter actually. Family medical things going on, but yeah, that's kind of what went on with that. All right. Thank you though, Greg. I definitely appreciate that. What are your grad studies in? Keeping the great work. Yeah, so it's cyber policy, really nerdy stuff. It's on the policy side of the house. So as dry and boring as that sounds is exactly what it is. Gavin, thank you for the back and forth emailing me. Hey, no worries. Recently submitted a claim for depression with an IMO, 2 buddy letters, personal statement, and excerpts from my SDRs. Solid. Okay, solid. We have the medical opinion. I'm going to assume it's a good one. We have lay statements and personal statements. I'm assuming those back your evidence or support your evidence. And then you have the direct in-service events from your SDRs. That is great. Yeah, there we go. Evidence-based claims. I mean, I get fully developed claims. That's the goal, right? I like to say evidence-based because I don't want to. I would caution veterans getting a medical opinion and DBQ for every single claim. That's why I say evidence-based. Get as close to the FTC as you can. And in your case, that was great. Awesome. I would love to hear back, Gavin, on what the result is. All right, I had a general discharge and don't qualify for normal GI Bill. That sucks. Do you know if there's a way I can get it? IT type of training through VA. Vet Tech. I don't know based off of that discharge. I can tell you a lot of people do discharge upgrades. That would probably be at first glance. I don't know. This is out of pocket, right? I don't know enough about this. But I can tell you a good friend of mine did some pretty wild stuff while he was in, and he got a discharge upgrade. But as far as, I don't know if you would rate VRNE without rating the GI Bill. I don't think so. I'd have to double check that. But yeah, I don't know enough about that to speak on it. Jonathan Todd, if I move TDIU to simply 100% scheduler, I automatically use a SMCS and also get for being IU plus another 60 plus. So you're talking, yeah. The SMCS would be 100. You have to have 100% rating, and then a cumulative rating of an additional 60%, right? Or one rating that is at least 60%. So the answer is yes. Yeah, you would rate the SMCS. I think that's what you're asking. That I also get for being IU plus another. Yeah, if you rate SMCS, the answer is yes. Okay. I think that's what you're asking, unless I'm reading this wrong. All right, TRICARE Online migrates over to Genesis next October. There you go. Right. Good. Thanks for the time you put in helping fellow vets. Yeah, thank you. Definitely appreciate it. Yeah, keep me updated. Jim Jones, hit by an SUV, walking my bike across the street, and it was the driver's fault. That sucks. I'm now out of work, and I'm filing 2 claims, uploaded the police report, should I request these, expedite these? Yeah, I mean, if you meet the criteria for a hardship claim, absolutely, okay? Especially if that car wreck made a service condition worse, which I'm going to assume that's what you're talking about, then yes, for sure. Almost at the bottom. VA gave me a CPAP machine after sleep studies. I have PTSD. Do I have a chance if I claim sleep apnea? Yeah, you have a chance, okay? I understand that when I say sleep apnea to PTSD is a difficult claim, what that sounds like, okay? And it is. It's not an easy claim, but it is common, right? You have to look at correlating factors. Do I think you should do a medical opinion up front? The answer is no, I do not, okay? You have the diagnosis, you have the CPAP. I would absolutely submit that secondary to mental health, to your PTSD specifically. And I'm going to assume you have multiple correlating factors just based off of that. Yes, yeah, you absolutely have a chance. All right. Kick save if your gallstones require symptoms and removed, 30-year discharge, 38. Yes, absolutely. Awesome. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Greg always comes in clutch with the hard ones. That gallbladder one was a doozy. All right, Trinette. How about some thumbs up to Skyrocket? Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, definitely appreciate that. I know you say that you don't like personal statements. No, it's not that I don't like them. Okay, it's not that I don't like them. Personal statements on their own are very weak, right? It's a self-report. When personal statements support medical evidence, that's good. That's awesome. That's what we want to see. Okay. But would they be helpful along with markers for PTSD? Yes, absolutely. Right. I'll tell you one. I don't want to give too much information, but one veteran I was talking with, MST, which is completely way over my head. I'm not really prepared to help anyone with that because it's kind of just hard to listen to be honest with you. They did a personal statement, and this veteran used the Marine Corps has fit reps, which are fitness reports. She was able to show a decline in her fit reps and comments made by her raters in the Marine Corps of her performance declining, right? And that personal statement referenced her fit reps and the decline of her performance, and that correlated with the dates of the incident, along with other lay statements that basically did the same thing. So that's still evidence, right? The decline of performance via fit rep is still evidence. It's not medical evidence. It's still evidence. And so in that instance, that statement was just referring to evidence, right? Like personnel records. But yeah, that would be a great example. I think you have to have GI Bill left. Yeah, there you go. Oh, to allow BA. Oh, to allow BAH. That's a good point. That's a good point. Okay, appreciate that. All right, can you get rated? Last two questions. Can you get rated for stethoscope secondary to hypertension? Yes, absolutely. Okay. The question is that going to be service? Is it going to be service connected secondary? I don't know. I'd like to see your evidence for that. I don't know enough about that disability to give you a solid answer, but I can tell you this: if you have a condition that is either from service or from a service connected disability, yes, you can be. The VA will recognize that, right? Now, how it's rated is a different story. But the simple answer is yes. All right, last one, last two. Should you put the names of soldiers in your personal statement to cause your service-connected disability if you can't locate the service treatment records? I'm sure this is very specific to your situation. It's really hard for me to answer that. Let's say you were jumped and you got beat up by 6 dudes. It won't be. I'm gonna say yes. Okay. I'll say yes. I would put in that instance the name, the unit, when it happened, what was going on at that time, any information to kind of corroborate that evidence. Okay, orange. I forgot to tell you, a bunch of my friends who aren't military said they saw our TheCivDiv picture with the gear on. Hey, awesome. That's right. Yeah, orange was the person I took that picture with. I appreciate it. All right, guys, that's the end of this. I'm going to bed. It's after midnight on the East Coast. Thank you very much for the questions. I appreciate it. I think this was the first stream we actually made it start to finish, all the way to the bottom, which is insane. We answered every single one, so appreciate it. I'm going to end this with my outro. If you want your picture shown, just send it to me. I have 2 pictures I haven't put in there yet, FYI. So later.
Whiskey 9 Yankee 7 November Golf, over. Whiskey 9 7 November, interrogative Alpha Bravo. Negative Alpha Bravo. And this is 7 November Golf, Roger. Request you check your Romeo side. I'll go ahead and check my Tango side. 7 November Golf out. And 8 7 November, say again. 7 November, go. I copied a while ago, 1 Charlie transmission that my thing used,
November Golf, 1 Charlie Echo.
And 8-5, this is 7 November, Roger, Charlie. 8-5, Roger. Now 1 Charlie, 7 November, go.
This is 1 Charlie, in reference to your last, you're Brandon 158, extra 5 o'clock, 1200 between Queens and local. Also request your unit take extra Echo to see if we can try to get Whiskey 9 and 8 for the playground.
And this is 7 November, Roger, stand by.
Got that.
Got it? Alright. And all units, this is 7 November Golf. My unit Alpha, Echo, X-ray Alpha in there.
One Charlie, Alpha Bravo.
Hey, I never took a dip. I forgot to take a dip.
Whiskey 9, 7 November, interrogative Alpha Bravo. Whiskey 9 Yankee, 7 November Golf, over. Whiskey 9, 7 November, interrogative Alpha Bravo. Whiskey 9 Yankee, 7 November Golf, over. Whiskey 9, 7 November, interrogative Alpha Bravo. Negative Alpha Bravo. And this is 7 November Golf, Roger. Request you check your Romeo side. I'll go ahead and check my Tango side. 7 November Golf out. November 8 5, At 8 o'clock, 7 November 2nd. 7 November, go.